This is a special program at FLINTtalkradio.com. I'm George Moss, and we're going to be talking this afternoon with Mr. Tom Whitmire, and he is a candidate for the congressional seat.
I think this is my calling, so it's the spiritual path that I've been put on. I'm at a point in my life where I'm able to stand up and be a voice that can speak the truth. And I think that a great leader is also creating other leaders. So I don't want to say, I want to create a following. What I want to do is inspire other leaders to stand up as well.
I see.
So I started this process to where I am today by having to gather signatures. So I got over 1,500 signatures. In the process, 1,000 of those signatures I either gathered myself or the person standing next to me got. So I got to meet 1,000 of these people, and every one was a small interview. So I've already had a small interview by about 1,000 people, and they want to ask questions. And a lot of them would just, look at the top of the petition and say, "Oh, you're a Republican, I'm not voting for you." I say, "No, I'm a human being. I'm running on the Republican ticket." And that would stop them, and they want to listen because they hadn't heard anything about that more. And they say, "Well, I'm a Democrat, and I'm not going to sign that." And I said, "Well, I'm running on a platform of nutrition, health, agriculture, and education." And I said, "I think we have a huge disconnect about what is real food, and the people are sick." And they're like, "Yeah, I can get into that. What do you think about GMOs?" And I tell them the truth of what I thought about different aspects, and all of a sudden the people were gathering this, this is what we need to do. This makes a difference, and they grab my petition and go, "I'll sign that."
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to ask you about what would be your point of entry, knowing that you're in a Democratic Party stronghold, Genesee County being that. And you said your district, the 5th district, it encompasses, you telling us the area.
Genesee County, Saginaw County, Bay, Iosco, Aroostook.
Any of those
and Tuscola.
Any of those Republican strongholds? We know the Democratic Party strongholds. Genesee County is pretty much that. So any of those? I know you're saying that you are not running in that partisan manner.
Correct.
But partisanship is a factor in the political process.
Correct.
So how is there any Republican partisanism that's in place in some of the other places?
You can judge it by looking if people just vote straight tickets. So if a candidate doesn't even run, they don't put out a single sign, they don't do a single interview, they just paid $100 to get on the ticket. Sometimes they get between 30 and 36% of the vote in this area. But I think when we start looking at if Republican or Democrat, we're creating a disconnect between what the actual issues that we're talking about.
I agree with you 1,000%.
And we need to start creating unity in our community.
Sure. And I think politics is too often at times divisional on purpose, because they want to run on the party labels and not run on the issues in the campaigns. I'm with you 1,000% on that point. There still is an issue to be dealt with, though, in terms of how the county has played out in the past, and if you got a D behind your name, people are kind of like in lockstep with that's the ticket that you're going to vote for, and there has to be some way to break that cycle so we can get better government. And I think that's what you're saying in terms of how you're running your campaign. I think it's a wonderful approach, Tom, that you are running on health, nutrition, education, and agriculture. I don't think I've ever seen a campaign with those 4 items at the top of the campaign strategy.
Well, let me touch on agriculture for a little bit and explain what that aspect means and what my research has shown, my investigation. Being in this industrial age area, and we can specifically just talk about Genesee County today, we're in Flint Talk Radio. What happened is General Motors opened up the factories. So all the farmers left their farms and started to work in the factories. So a lot of that farmland was just left to hobby farming, or it may have just laid dormant. When the giant monocropping boom came across the nation, and they were just wiping out the family farms, putting in these large corporations so they could just drive one tractor for miles, they were using a lot of pesticides, they're using a lot of fertilizers, and they're using a lot of genetically modified and genetically engineered seeds. What has happened is that this area's land has remained untouched.
This area's land here?
Yeah. So anywhere from Iosco to Genesee County, we still have real farmland. So if you drive, you'll see a house, and then there's a field behind it, and there's a barn, and there's a tractor.
Okay.
The way that farming is meant to be.
Right.
So that's an untouched resource. We have high quality soil that they don't have in the rest of the nation. And what we need to do is start taking advantage of that and start planting plants again, like celery and asparagus, and these plants that we can grow, we can get into our own institutions. But what we also can take advantage of is that we sit on the best logistical system and the best supply chain system in the country. So we've been shipping cars around the world. We have maybe 4 major railroads that come into this area. They drive right through the factories. We have loading docks. So if we were producing high quality food products, and we can say local, we can say organic, whatever the standard is, then we can start shipping, we can start feeding our own people, and we can start shipping high quality foods around this country as well.
Wow.